All right, guys. Hey, good morning. Yesterday we ended up with 5 inches in the morning in like 4.5-ish hours, and we got another 1/4 inch overnight. Thank God we needed that 1/4 inch. So I'm just gonna drive around. All the creeks look like spring flood levels. You know, nothing like holy crap, but there's some roads, since it came so fast. There's a lot of road spots that were underwater that normally typically isn't, and so yeah, so we're gonna look at fields and see what we got for damage today. All right, so you can see all that water from the other side of the trees for a little bit comes this way, and for about the width of that tree line, all that water comes this way, runs under the road, and then just comes down the ditch a few feet and then out. But you can clearly see that there's zero erosion, zero movement. What I really love is, look how that corn is in water. Now every rain event, their water comes across and runs down that ditch. Every rain event runs down the ditch. So not only does that corn have to deal with the rain that's going in the ground, it also has to deal with the other field's rain. But it's green right to the ground. That's really impressive. That's a huge indication that that nitrogen program. I think I stepped in something, but it wasn't the mud. Look at the mosquitoes around. What a day to have the can of bug spray be empty when I got to the farm. Yeah, so you can see some water got up on these corn plant here, but this spot here, you got almost a long 1/8 of a mile. You got almost 800 feet of fall coming this way, fairly mild. And then you got another 800, 900 feet that way coming this way, very aggressive fall. Again, you can't see any residue. I am not walking up there. I am sorry, guys. I have 30 seconds to do this because these bugs are unbelievable. But so yeah, all that fall, and then it isn't just this lane. You got quite a ways to the left, but it all comes this way, hits this spot and goes out. But you can see, so the water was up here for a little bit. After 5 inches of rain, that's not bad, considering that the hill's not washed out, where there's nothing growing. No damage to the corn, no damage to the field. A little bit of residue got moved here, along here, and I'm sure it, it puddled up here, obviously, and then finally settled down, so you get whatever residue floated. That it is what it is 5 inches of rain. No washouts, no damage to the field. We're still doing good, and no damage to my neighbor's property or anything like that. I don't know what more I can say. How much water really came torrently through here if that little tiny corn wasn't damaged. You know what I mean? It obviously wasn't a tidal wave through here. You can't even see the grass being moved from current or anything. And so I don't know what more to say, other than I'm extremely happy that the hill is in place and all the crops look super good. There's no major damage. There's tons of wormholes everywhere, stepping in a strip till rut. Some radish and the cover crops coming up. Massive stalks. Look at them stalks. You got 1.5 inch diameter stalk. So yeah, but anyhow, let me a lot of casualties of worms though. So let me get out of this Amazon jungle. We'll get to the headland where I do have some issues. All right, guys, before we go to the next segment, let me preface this with, I'm not saying conventional till is wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not bashing anybody. I'm using facts. I started down this road of soil health and stuff purely from an economic standpoint, and it's working. I like it. And I also like the stewardship part of it. There's a very important part of it. And part of the stewardship comes from the place of economics. If I can do better with my water, I'm swatting mosquitoes here. If I can do better with my water, I can do better with my checkbook. So let's keep that in mind when I do this next segment, that I'm not criticizing I am critical and asking farmers to raise their standard that they hold themselves at, and if they can't do better, you know. So yes, I am critical there that farmers should start to do better. This is 2018. There should not be water damage like this, plain and simple. All right, guys, my problem with this is regulations are coming. I'm in Minnesota. We lead welfare. We lead the country in terrorist recruiting. We are just an awesome sanctuary for illegal immigration and wanting to give them welfare and give them rights as illegal criminals. And you got a governor that's and you've got limousine liberal politicians that are making social justice laws, not common sense laws. Now with the Democrat Party in the Minnesota is you can't let facts get in the way of a good law, good debate. So they make laws based on emotion, not based on facts. Hence the nitrate law, the buffer law, neonicotide law, soon to be phosphorus and potash regulated law, soon to be dust. Dust in my lifetime will be regulated in Minnesota, because you should not be creating it, because Joe Public has to drive through it, and that bothers them. This bothers Joe Public. It bothers me because we can do better. It's 2018. It's 2018. I think farmers can do a better job. Plain and simple. Why? There's the question. Why cannot farmers rotate tillage? They don't have to go to complete no-till. They don't have to go to strip till. Why can't they incorporate a little bit of reduced tillage into their farm to start to build some soil health? Why do farmers get to grid pattern tile their fields and then still show runoff? Look at all the videos on YouTube, areas that only had 15, 20 inches in 2 or 3 months, and they're showing just video after video of flooding and water running off the ground. 15 inches in 3 months, that's nothing. That is nothing. Healthy soil should take that without even blinking an eye. So if you have grid pattern tile, there are a lot of tiling in your field, and you still have a lot of runoff, should you be allowed to put in more tile? I don't want anybody to regulate farmers any more than we already are. But it's coming because of when Joe Public drives down this road to their cabins and they see water coming across the road, or they see water damage, and Joe Public goes out into west central Minnesota, western Minnesota, southern Minnesota, into big crop farm areas, and they see all these flooded fields. We can take the anecdotal argument of, well, you weren't, we had 30 inches rain. Yep. The farmers that were in that natural disaster area, you get a pass. There's no argument about it. You can't have 30 plus inches of rain in less than 2 months, and you're gonna have some runoff. Yep, I understand that. And the farmer that's gonna say, well, the water table on my place is actually higher than ground level in my low spots, and so I always have some water leaving the farm, so I have to have tile. Maybe you don't have to farm every square inch of your farm. It sucks. I have a lot of acres here I cannot farm, and so you don't get to farm 100% of your acres. Oh well. Why are you trying to farm spots where you have water percolating out of the ground, or water stalling at a few inches down? That's my question. Why are you trying to farm that? You could farm that differently. Put it aside. It's CRP, it's pasture, it's something other than corn and beans. You could do a better job in that area. But in broad general terms, central Minnesota, western Minnesota, southern Minnesota, the big crop producing areas, when Joe Public sees your YouTube channels of you showing flooded fields and how your tile lines are broke, and how you have dirty water coming off the fields. That's when Joe Public goes to their back and to their local, you know, city, county, and even the state level and says, well, we need to do something. We need to do something. Geez, I had dirty water all over my cabin lawn because of the neighbor's cornfield. I can't have that. I have children out there. What kind of pollutants are on my lawn now? It may sound silly, but that's the public of Minnesota. At what point can why? If you have a good pattern tiled field, you should be allowed 0 surface water runoff. If you had healthy soil on top of that tile, you should have 0 water running off that field. The whole point of tile is the soil can only hold so much. Any excess water in the soil profile gets left out on the tile, or leaves with the tile. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, the soil can't take it fast enough, so it's going to run off, but my tile is there, so I need more tile. That's a grid pattern tiling with water running off the top of your field is absolute proof that your conventional farming does not work. That is absolute proof. Everybody's just too stubborn to admit it. So why is that happening? If you had grid pattern tiling, why is that happening? You can't be the poster child by showing dirty water coming off the fields with broken tile, with flooded fields. You are the poster child for what the liberals want in the Twin Cities to pass more regulation laws. That they'll bring them videos right on up and say, see, we need to regulate tile in Minnesota. See, we need to regulate fertilizer in Minnesota. It's gonna happen, guys. It's gonna happen. I could give a crap less what my neighbor does. But at some point, am I not allowed to berm that ditch up and plug the culvert at this end, or at least berm the ditch up so the culvert can take what it can take? Any excess water can sit on his field instead of sitting in my field. Why do I have to? I basically now have a ditch across 60 acres for his water, not mine, not my water. My water's not getting to the ditch. Even after 5 inches of rain, we saw up there was so little bit of water going through that area that I don't need a ditch for my water. But when you have that much water flow coming into my field, I have to be able to move it somewhere. Why? I don't want to create a mud hole on my own field because they choose not to deal with their water. And when I say they, representative every conventional farmer, not that guy. So yeah, I guess that's my questions. Is it's 2018, why can't farmers be doing a better job with their water? You got a governor, we just did the buffer law, we just did the nitrogen law, we just did the neonicotinoid law, and it's not going to be long until all the other laws come in place. P&K, I'm surprised we do not have P&K regulations on it already. I'm surprised we do not have regulations as to when you can spread P&K already. It's scary. It is very scary, guys, and that's what really torques me about this, is when I see all these big guys that they have to be able, well, we got to be able to cover 5,000 acres. We can't micromanage every acre to make sure, okay, this field we can no-till, this field we can conventional till. They can't afford to do that. They need to just be able to get in them tractors and cover a lot of acres so they can make their money. But at what expense? At what expense? What's the whole point? What's the whole long-term goal? None of them guys could ever use the word soil health. They can never, ever. You can't do full tillage and talk about soil health. Plain and simple. You're the opposite of soil health. So why can't people incorporate more? Anyone that wants to say it doesn't work here, why can't you do it on a rotational basis? Why can't we do something better? I don't know. I'm asking you guys, why? Because if we as farmers don't get this figured out, the government's going to step in. They see creeks full of dirty water. Where'd that dirty water come from? Well, It came from the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and, you know, tens of thousands of acres of wood lines around the creek. Nope. It came from the few hundred acres of fields next to the creek. That's all the politicians see. The farmers get blamed for everything, and it's sad. That's just what it is. That's what we're up against. Everybody wants the world fed, but everybody wants the world fed by their enemy, apparently. I still think farmers need to do better. Take responsibility for yourself. I think farmers should have any exit of a field, any water coming off the field. The only regulation I would have in place is that you do water sampling, or the government, or the city, the NRCS drives around the county. Somebody takes water samples off them fields, and if the water coming off your field is clean, you're left alone. If the water coming off your field is dirty, at a parts per million level that's unacceptable, then you got to make changes to your farm and clean it up. I don't think that's such a terrible reason. We need to be responsible here. This isn't 1920 or 1820 where we can just do whatever we want anymore, you know? I mean, look where we used to be. Rivers on fire because so many chemicals were poured onto rivers. I mean, I'd like to think we've evolved civilly quite a bit. We don't need another Dust Bowl. I don't know. It's very perplexing to me as to why farmers want the government. They're just going to do what they want to do until the government steps in, and I don't understand why they can't do better. It baffles me. Guys, I'm going to leave it with that. Please ask more questions below, because I got a bunch of questions as to, I guess I think I've asked them all. But yeah, keep the conversation going below. Don't forget to subscribe the video, and this is a serious topic. I think this is a tremendously serious topic for this area, and especially when you were surrounded by Joe Public. I don't know. Guys, let me know what you think.